welcome to SeeRaver's TEW2020, where we will be playing as WWE starting in January of 2020. And we are going to be starting with Monday Night Raw. Again, for this particular episode or for this particular series, we're going to be working as the owner and booker for WWE, where we will be booking Raw and SmackDown, and the goal is going to be to see which gets more views between Raw and SmackDown. So if you like what we have here at SeeRaver's Game, I am your host, Nate, and we will be doing 2 episodes a week. We'll be putting out Raw and SmackDown. The goal is to get Raw out hopefully on between Saturday and Monday, and then at some point later on in the week between Tuesday and Friday, once we get a regular schedule in place, we'll get those out. So until we get that, it's very important that you go ahead and click notifications and hit subscribe down below so that you know when the next show goes live. So we're going to go ahead and get this show started. Alright, and again, if you like what you see, please go ahead and comment down below or give us a thumbs up and let us know what you think of our booking, and let us know what you think of TEW 2020. Excited to get this started. Obviously, we are playing the public demo version. You can see that I have public beta number 16 installed, which has updated quite a few things since the original demo has come out. Now, it seems like the plan is for the full game to come out sometime in May, so we'll go through a few months, but we can play January and February and hopefully get caught up, or we'll be a few months behind what regular WWE is for this series, but that's fine. We're going to get started as though it's January. So it's our first week in the series, and you can see our first match is Drew McIntyre versus Elias. And in a bout that had a decent reaction from the crowd, but subpar wrestling, Drew McIntyre defeated Elias in 15 minutes and 28 seconds by pinfall with a future shock. Drew McIntyre had an in-ring performance of 65, Elias had an in-ring performance of 60, and the rise of McIntyre storyline has started with this segment. Vic Joseph and Jerry Lawler have pretty good chemistry when calling matches together, and let's see what the dirt sheet had to say. McIntyre got a bonus for charisma and star quality. He also got a bonus for a great gimmick. Elias got bonuses for selling and charisma and star quality, but we were penalized for holding back and being able to use spinal impact moves. Drew McIntyre was penalized for dominating in a lengthy match. Both men were penalized for being able to use spinal impact moves, and segment was penalized for booking decisions. And the announcing quality was penalized for low experience. I assume that has to be Vic Joseph. And for some reason in TEW 2020, when you start a storyline, you get a ding or a penalty for not having an associated storyline until after it starts. So we'll see how that goes as we continue to move through our story. You can see tonight we're coming from TD Garden in Boston in front of 13,639 people. So let's go ahead and see what happens in our next segment. And we have an angle featuring Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Randy Orton, and Bobby Lashley. WWE Raw opens with Roman Reigns in the ring, or this segment opens with Roman Reigns in the ring. Reigns says he's here for one thing and one thing only. He's here to claim a spot to challenge for the WWE Championship. I'm in the main event, and I will become the number 1 contender. Tonight's main event is a fatal 4-way for the number 1 contender title. Seth Rollins' music hits as he comes down to the ring. Seth says, "Come on, Reigns. If there's one thing we know you can't do, it's beat Brock Lesnar. He's beaten you so many times, it's not even funny." Reigns stops him there and says, "Well, I know one thing, I can beat you, and I'm pretty sure Brock's beaten you a time or two as well." Before anything else can happen, Orton's music hits, and he enters the ring. Orton says, "Look, I'm the legend killer. Tonight, I become the number 1 contender, and I will kill the legend that is Brock Lesnar." As he finishes that statement, Lashley's music hits. He comes out on the ramp. Lashley says, "Hey, I've never actually had a shot at Lesnar, and tonight is going to be my time. Tonight I will dominate. As Reigns is looking up the ramp, Orton hits an RKO out of nowhere and takes out Reigns. He rolls out of the ring, and Rollins takes advantage, hitting a curb stomp on Reigns. This segment got a 35. The WWE Championship Challenge storyline advanced. The Rollins versus Reigns storyline has advanced. So it looks like we're going to be getting some Rollins versus Reigns at some point during this series. So looking forward to that excitement. And the performance of The performance of Roman Reigns was good. Seth Rollins was a real star. Randy Orton looked good. Struggling with my words tonight. The color commentary gave the segment a boost. The lack of anything interesting happening in this segment was a problem, and it went on too long for this audience. The angle cooled the crowd a little bit. Wonderful. So in the dirt sheet, Roman Reigns got bonuses for good momentum and a good gimmick. Rollins got a bonus for good momentum and a great gimmick and being an amazing heel. Orton got a bonus for good momentum and a legendary gimmick, and as we scroll down, we see that the penalties came in for low experience again from Vic Joseph. Road agent Scott Armstrong did a great job and penalized for being too long. We know WWE loves to have a long opening segment. So let's see what happens next in our show. Braun Strowman versus Eric Young in a bout that had a decent reaction from the crowd but subpar wrestling. Braun Strowman defeated Eric Young in 9 minutes and 55 seconds by stoppage when Eric Young was injured and could not continue. This segment rating got a 56. Braun had an excellent in-ring performance at 69. Eric Young had a performance of 48. Braun Strowman and Eric Young have great chemistry, and it showed in their performances. Vic Joseph and Jerry Lawler again had pretty good chemistry when calling their matches together. Strowman got bonuses for momentum, charisma, and star quality. Eric Young got bonuses for selling, charisma, star quality, and a legendary gimmick. That's probably the first time Eric Young has ever been said that he has a legendary gimmick. Braun Strowman penalized for being able to use spinal impact moves. I think we're going to have to make that adjustment. I did not notice that I was not allowed to do spinal impact moves, so we're going to have to make that change in our booking. Ooh! In the next segment, we only got a rating of 20. Raw is not off to a strong start tonight. The Tag Team Championship story has started with this segment. The segment deserved better announcing. The lack of anything interesting was a problem, and we brought the crowd down. Ivar got a bonus for a good gimmick. Matt Hardy was the booker, or the road agent, and Eric was penalized for a poor gimmick. It's pretty funny considering they both have the exact same gimmick. And we got penalized for boring announcements. So hour 1 to Raw is not starting off very great. Looks like we have bored the crowd into a lull. Let's see if we can pick them back up. And it does not pick back up, apparently, for our next match. It says, in an abysmal match, the Revival defeated the Viking Raiders in 18 minutes and 3 seconds when Dash Wilder pinned Eric with the Shatter Machine. The Revival do win the WWE Raw Tag Team titles. Dawson had a 52, Wilder had a 49, but Eric and Ivar only had performances in the 20s. The Tag Team Championship advanced with this segment and gained heat. Dash Wilder and Scott Dawson showed excellent chemistry teaming together. John Gaburek didn't do well as the road agent as the match was badly put together, and the crowd didn't like the overbooked nature of the match, and it was given it was a little too long for the audience. Let's see. Looks like the Revival got some bonuses there, but Eric and Ivar were knocked down for some of their stuff there, including not being able to use spinal impact moves. So we're definitely going to have to make an adjustment there and do some spinal impact moves and allow those to be booked. Otherwise, we will be getting terrible ratings. But again, not so excited, not so worried about what the game gives us as much as what you think of the show. So the Revival are our new Raw Tag Team Champions. beating the Viking Raiders on opening show. Title changes hands, and it looks like the Revival are going to become the tag team champions. Maybe we'll see them actually getting booked in this series like they should have been before they were released by WWE here recently. I plan to book the Revival strong, and hopefully they will stick around when their contracts are over and don't run to AEW. So, Braun Strowman, who won earlier in the night, is walking backstage when he stops, almost as if he feels someone watching him. He looks around, he doesn't see anyone, so he continues walking. However, seconds later, a shadowy figure emerges from hiding, having been there the whole time, and runs off. No comments to be made about this segment, but it did get a 70 rating amongst the crowd. Braun Strowman was penalized for an awful gimmick, but Kurt Angle got great bonus for his road agent work. Okay, and back to our terrible ratings. In an abysmal match, Bayley defeated Kairi Sane in 9:48 by pinfall with a Bayley to belly. Following interference from I cannot talk during this video. From Sasha Banks. Bayley had an in-ring performance of 46. Sane had a performance of 45, and our tag team championship storyline has started with this segment. It looks like we're going to be getting Bayley and Banks versus Sane and Asuka. The announcing lifted the match, but Bruce Pritchard was not a great road agent. You can see we were booked for an odd heel face combination. It looks like they are both heels. So crowd was cold, and Bruce Pritchard sucks. So kind of like real life in that example. Moving on to the next segment. And we're back. The crowd is more excited for this one. We have an angle featuring Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar. Backstage, Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar are being interviewed by Charlie Caruso. Caruso asks Heyman about the #1 contenders match tonight. Heyman says, "Do we look worried, Charlie? Do you remember who I am? My name is Paul Heyman, and I am the advocate for my client, Brock Lesnar. Brock doesn't care who wins tonight. It will be the same no matter who is named the #1 contender. Eat, sleep, conquer, repeat. I promise no matter who is victorious, my client will always remain the champion." So Paul Heyman and Brock are very confident going into the #1 contenders match. This match should be booked. Whoever wins this #1 contenders match will be booked in a match at the Royal Rumble against Brock Lesnar. So it'll be interesting to see who exactly comes out victorious later tonight in the main event. But this segment got the crowd back interested again, so that's always a good thing. Strangely enough, it says Paul Heyman was very underwhelming, which never happens. Vic Joseph and Samoa Joe were weak, and this segment deserved better announcing, which is interesting because they weren't talking. So Brock Lesnar came across well, and the dirt sheet's going to say Paul Heyman got a bonus for being an amazing heel, and you can see Brock Lesnar got some bonuses there. We did get a penalty for a dead crowd from the previous booking, but hopefully things will pick up. So after this, we should have another match, and we do. It's Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair in a bout that had good heat and decent wrestling. Becky Lynch defeated Charlotte Flair in 20:30 by countout. Becky Lynch makes defense #1 of the WWE Raw Women's title. So the title was on the line. Becky Lynch keeps her title over Charlotte Flair. Flair was counted out. Becky Lynch had an in-ring performance of 72. Charlotte Flair had an in-ring performance of 65. And the women's title challenge storyline has started with this segment. However, the match says it was given a little too long. So WWE audience does not care for long matches so far. The dirt sheet says we got some bonuses there for selling. And Steve Corino got a good bonus. But again, we cannot do Final Impact moves, so we need to change that. And let's see what happens. So Becky Lynch just won, and after the match, Becky Lynch is celebrating her victory when she's attacked. After her match, Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose enter from the crowd and attack her from behind. Rose grabs a chair and begins to attack Lynch's leg. Sonya Deville also grabs a chair. Rose puts Lynch's leg in the chair and then holds Lynch down. Deville climbs to the top rope with the chair. So it looks like Becky Lynch's leg is wrapped in the chair. Rose has her held so she cannot move. Sonya climbs to the top rope. She jumps off the top rope, hits a senton splash with the chair behind her back. Lands chair to chair on the chair wrapped around Lynch's leg. Lynch screams in agony. She's writhing around on the mat in pain. While she is writhing in pain, Deville and Rose stand tall and celebrate in the ring. This segment only got a 35, but we're going to have to wait and see on the status of Becky Lynch. Will she be okay? Has she been injured? What is her status as we move into the next episode? Doctors are checking on her in the ring, and we'll have to see what her status is next week. But we do know Becky Lynch is very resilient and is most likely going to have something to say to Sonya and Mandy. It says lack of anything interesting happening in this segment was a problem, and it cooled the crowd. Strange that nothing interesting happening when you have a massive chair attack. We got good momentum. Rose and Deville have good gimmicks. And Steve Corino got another bonus. Interesting that they think Becky Lynch has an awful gimmick. But we will see. So, after Becky is injured in the ring, we are now backstage with our new tag team champions, where they taunt the Viking Raiders. The tag team championship storyline has advanced. Clearly, Scott Dawson enjoyed having the freedom to go off script and perform well. Big John didn't do so well as the road agent, so it may be looking like John does not get to continue to be a road agent. The dirt sheet says we got some great gimmick. Dawson got a good bonus for improvising well. We are not going to be scripting our segments here for these guys, so they'll be doing their own talking. So up next, EC3 versus King Corbin in a bout that had a decent reaction from the crowd, but terrible wrestling. We continue to see that on Raw. EC3 defeated King Corbin in 15 minutes and 13 seconds with a sweet meat sizzler after a distraction from Drake Maverick. Drake Maverick was at ringside. Looks like he can beat the U.S. champion King Corbin, and we are going to start a storyline here where EC3 will be challenging King Corbin. So that's an interesting thing. EC3 looks to be on the rise here. EC3 got a bonus for charisma and star quality, but he was penalized for holding back. And again, we're getting penalized for spinal impact moves. Segment was penalized for an odd heel-face combination. We are going to be seeing EC3 actually booked as a face in this segment or in this series. I may have forgotten to change him over to a face, which is fine. He will continue to be a face as we move forward. Up next, we have another angle featuring Braun Strowman. We cut backstage after the match, and Braun Strowman is lying face down in the locker room. There's blood on the floor under his head. Doctors rush in. Strowman has been attacked, but we don't know who was responsible. And now Strowman is being stretchered out prior to our main event. So the mystery attacker storyline has advanced with this segment. Braun Strowman's performance was good. He's very good at laying down and doing nothing. And now our dirt sheet tells us good momentum. Mike Rotunda got some good bonuses there. But Braun Strowman has an awful gimmick, apparently. And our crowd is dead. We've killed the crowd. But up next is our main event. It is a fatal four-way for the number one contender spot. And let's see what happens here. In a bout that had great heat and good wrestling, Bobby Lashley defeated Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and Randy Orton in 26 minutes and 54 seconds when Bobby Lashley pinned Randy Orton with a chokeslam. Interesting that that's what he used. Says Bobby Lashley was the weak link, struggling to keep up with everyone else's in-ring performance. Seth Rollins had an in-ring performance of 80. Reigns had 78. Lashley only got a 60, and Randy Orton had a 78. Rollins versus Reigns has advanced. As we saw, looks like the two had some interesting dynamics during this match. Instead of going for the win, the two actually seem to face off more and worry more about each other after hitting that curb stomp earlier in the night. Reigns wanted some revenge. So it looks like while the two aren't involved in the championship picture, it looks like we are going to get some Rollins and Reigns interaction as we move forward. Our dirt sheet tells us Seth Rollins got a bonus, lots of bonuses there. Lashley got some bonuses as well. Lana is his manager. And lots of holding back and lots of penalties for spinal impact moves. So there's our main event. Bobby Lashley is your winner, and let's see how we finish out the night. Bobby Lashley has become the #1 contender for the Universal Championship. That should say WWE Championship. He celebrates his victory over Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and Randy Orton as he stands on the second rope in the corner, celebrating with Lana looking on. Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman come out on top of the ramp. Lesnar just grins at Lashley, and Heyman smirks as he always does and slowly claps as the show goes off the air. That segment rating only drew a 50, but the championship storyline has started with this segment. Brock Lesnar was a real star, and nothing really interesting happened in this segment. Bobby Lashley got high morale. Of course he is, because he is winning and has just become the #1 contender. Paul Heyman was penalized again for an awful gimmick. It's interesting to me. I just don't understand that. But anyway, there is our show for the night. Let's go ahead and finish the show and see what we have in store. So you can see we had some terrible booking. I'm to blame for that, as I see two segments involving Braun and the Paul Heyman promo were our two highest rated segments. Braun Strowman's segment where he beat up Eric Young and injured Eric Young was also fairly high. Drew McIntyre of a 48 was a decent segment, but for the most part we had some pretty terrible shows. The show lost popularity in 48 region. We used Eric and Ivar far too much on this show, and the general feeling is that WWE don't have enough interesting storylines going on. All right, well, hopefully we can correct that as we move on. And we click finish the show. Let's see what happens. See what kind of emails that we get as we move on to Tuesday. And again, for this series, we're not fooling with NXT or AEW. This is just going to be the booking of Raw and SmackDown to see which shows actually can do better in a true brand warfare. So as we wait in this, also just so you all know, in this TEW database, or in this TEW sort of game, we're only playing with Japan, the United States, Canada, and Great Britain, or the United Kingdom. So we did get a couple of emails, so let's go ahead and see what we have here. WWE enters shocked phase. World Wrestling Entertainment have entered a shocked phase due to falling in size for a few weeks. The company will be unable to gain any popularity through shows. Well, that sucks. WWE falls to medium size. World Wrestling Entertainment has fallen to medium size. That's interesting. WWE enters a cooling down period, 6-month cooling down period after falling below big status. Until this phase is complete, the company cannot raise back to big even if they meet criteria. Sky Sports Uno was unhappy with our show last night. Fox Sports was unhappy with Raw, which did not meet their minimum requirements, which is, who cares, it's on USA. J Sports 4, unhappy. BT Sport, MSTV, Sportsnet, US Network. Everybody is unhappy. Seth Rollins is feeling the effects of a grueling recent schedule and has asked that you take that into account when booking him so that he can have time to recover properly. Lots of people are unhappy with last night's Raw, so apparently my Raw sucked. We did get a 3.17 TV rating, which is at least double what they're actually getting right now. And drug test fees, The total cost of drug testing in WWE Raw was $20,000. That seems awfully high. And Matt Hardy sent us an opinion. Bailey is charismatic. I can see the kid doing well in the future. Thanks, Matt. And AB1 is also unhappy. So, lots of unhappy fans with our stinky Raw last night. But we did have 3,000, or a rating of 3, which is pretty good. When you consider what's going on. And it says WWE is in crisis. Here on the latest wrestling news, alarm bells are ringing around WWE as strong rumors are circulating that the company is set to make wide-ranging cutbacks following a recent decline in business. Many wrestlers are preparing themselves for the worst, although it is said the company will try to keep stars in place. It's almost like TEW2020 could tell the future and knows that something bad was about to happen. But of course, anybody who could watch ratings could tell. Hopefully, it'll be interesting to see what we can do in this particular series if we can hold off from the Black Wednesday that took place a couple of weeks ago. That WWE released all those people. We'll see if we can start to build our ratings back up and get some interest back in the WWE. That maybe we can show some signs that we are not going to flop. So we'll have to see what happens there and move forward. So again, this was SeeRaverGaming. This was TEW2020. If you liked this episode or are interested to see if we can avoid the WWE crisis or if we're destined to have to release superstars as well, go ahead and click that subscription. Give us a thumbs up if you liked what you watched. Otherwise, give us some comments. Even if you didn't love, let us know what you think we could do better here at SeeRaverGaming. This is our first exploration into TEW. We have not launched this before here. This is a new channel. Excited to see what we can do with TEW 2020 as it's a new game to me. And thank you again for watching. And if it is something that you like, please come back and watch SmackDown and let me see if I can figure out how to get rid of that spinal injury so we get some better ratings. And let us know. And if you didn't notice, there were a lot of people missing from Raw. I'll be interested to see if you can guess how I have broken up the two rosters, if you can tell the difference between the focus in between Raw and SmackDown rosters. So come back, join us for SmackDown, and let us see let us see what we can do with the SmackDown roster on Friday night. So again, appreciate you watching, and this has been SeeRaverGaming. You can follow me on Twitter at SeeRaverGaming, and continue to watch for TEW20. So again, thank you, and have a good weekend.